Hello students, we are learning lesson number 14, natural resources. So this is video 3 of lesson number 14, and today we will see how water is a resource for us. Till now we have seen how air is a resource. Now why water is a resource, how it is useful to us. Now there is an in-text question on page 194. Why do organisms need water? We know definitely we are going to tell organisms need water for washing, bathing and cooking. That is for our daily activities. But there are certain other uses which we will study in standard 9th. Organisms need water for the following activities. First of all, it requires water for cellular processes occurring inside our body. Cellular processes occur in water medium. Cellular processes means the chemical reactions which takes place inside the cells. For example, for the processes like digestion, respiration, excretion, all these processes require certain chemical reactions. These reactions always occurs inside the water medium which is present inside our cell. Second thing is transportation of the substances in our body takes place by dissolving in water. Transportation of substances, one example you can take that we eat food which gets digested inside the small intestine completely. Complete digestion takes place inside the small intestine. From the small intestine it has to be taken to all other cells because every organ requires energy and we get energy from food. So transportation of the food from the small intestine to the other part of the body to the cells takes place through blood, and 80% of the blood is formed of water. So transportation requires water. Then terrestrial animals requires fresh water for getting rid of waste from their body, that is for the excretory purpose. For the formation of excretory product like urine, water is required. Then plants require water for photosynthesis, and that is very necessary for us because without photosynthesis we won't get our food. So without water plants cannot perform photosynthesis. Second is, what is the major source of fresh water in the city, town, village where you live? So the first major source we can say that we get water from the rivers, and if the river is a perennial river then it comes, that is it origin is the Himalayas, and water in the form of snow ice covered mountains, that is the ice covered mountains, the ice melts, it comes, the water comes to the river. From that river water we get our water in the cities or villages nearby the rivers. Then water we also get from the wells, that is underground water. When the rain falls, some part of the rain seeps inside the soil and it forms the underground water. This water can be brought up by digging well. Then we also get water from the lakes, rivers or ponds, that is whether it is a city, a town or a small village, the water can be obtained after purification from the lakes, rivers or ponds. Then rainfall is a major source of water, as all of us knows, and if the rainwater is stored in the water in the tanks and dams, then tanks and dams also becomes the source of water for cities and villages. Next is, do you know if any activity which may be polluting this water source? That is, we know that water is a source for us, but water also gets polluted, that is unwanted substances gets added to water and the water now do not remain fit for our use. Yes, the water is polluted by sewage from our cities, that is the gutter water. If it gets mixed with the water, that is fresh water, drinking water, then it gets polluted. Then dumping waste in the river, that is sometimes the industries dump the waste and sometimes the agricultural waste or any sewage waste is also dumped in the rivers. And factory waste is also dumped in rivers and lakes. The factories waste, they contain certain poisonous chemicals which gets added to the water. Then fertilizers and pesticides which we use in our agricultural farms, they get washed away to the nearby water bodies, and these pesticides are poisonous as they can kill the microorganisms or they can kill the insects, they can kill us also. So after getting added to the water bodies, the water gets polluted. Now the second thing is how, this is an extra question, this is not in-text question, you need to write this question too. How does the water pollution affect the life forms in water bodies? That is, we will see how the water gets polluted. just now we saw. And if the water gets polluted, how it can affect the life forms living inside the water. First of all, addition of undesirable substance. Undesirable means which is not desired by the aquatic animals. When the substances like fertilizers and pesticides get added to water, it affects the life forms. Now, how it affects the life forms? When the fertilizers get added to water, that is, we are not spraying fertilizers in water. Actually, fertilizers are used in the agricultural farms, and from the agricultural farms, it may get washed away, and then it gets added to the nearby water in the rivers or lakes. So on addition of the fertilizers in the water which is there in the river or lakes, lots of algae gets good nutrition. That is, if fertilizer is a nutrition for the plants, fertilizer is a nutrition for aquatic algae also. Algae gets good nutrition and grows in water bodies, and they use the dissolved oxygen in the water. So if algae is growing, then we know that 4% of the oxygen gets dissolved in the water. This 4% is very less for the aquatic animals, and from that, if it is used up by the algae, then there is scarcity of this oxygen for the aquatic animals, and the aquatic animal may die. So if the fertilizers get added to the water, then aquatic animal may die, as the fertilizers is used by the algae, and lots of algae grows and they used up the oxygen. Now when aquatic animals consume pesticides, they may die because pesticides are poisonous. This is the thing, that how addition of undesirable substances like pesticides and fertilizers affects the animals in the water bodies. Second thing is change in temperature. Now specific industries use water for cooling in various operations. For cooling in various machinery parts or various chemical reactions, they use water. So when they use it for cooling and later return this hot water to water bodies, and after cooling the machines or any other part in the industries, the water becomes hot and the hot water is released in the water bodies like rivers or lakes. So this changes the temperature. This is a temperature change of the water is there in the water bodies. And if the temperature changes, then the aquatic animals living inside this, when they lay eggs, the larvae goes from the eggs, and the larvae cannot grow further because at high temperature their growth stops. They may die. So the animals are susceptible. Susceptible means they are affected by the temperature changes. So if how the water pollution affects us, if the water pollution is done by the undesirable substance like fertilizers, that also may kill the required living organisms inside the water. And if because of the industrial effluent getting added in the water, the change in temperature is there. If the change in temperature is there, then the larvae of the that is insects or the fishes eggs, they cannot grow to the adult form if the change in temperature is there. So this is all we have learnt about water. Now we can see the next resource is soil. Soil is land is our resource. Now land is formed of soil, as we know. So first of all, we will see how soil is formed. This is the question on page number 196 in text question, the first question. Now the topmost loose layer of earth crust, which contains inorganic particles and organic matter, is called soil. That is, soil is formed from the rocks actually, but when the rocks breaks, then the loose particles on the topmost layer forms the soil. So soil is formed by breaking big rocks, and big rocks are storehouse of inorganic minerals which are required by the plants for photosynthesis. So the plants grows on the soil, and we know that roots of the plants gets the minerals from the soil, and these minerals comes from the rocks because rocks are a storehouse of minerals. The rocks are broken down by various physical, chemical and biological processes. End product of this breaking down is called soil. When the rocks breaks, then it goes on breaking into smaller and smaller particles, and after breaking into smaller particles, they spread on the even land and forms the soil layer. So following factors helped in the breaking of the rocks. physical factor, chemical factor, and biological factor. Physical factor like sun, water, and wind breaks the rocks. And after breaking the rocks into smaller particles, the chemical factor like water, oxygen, or the required gases gets mixed to the soil, which makes it suitable for agriculture. And some biological factors like growth of the lichens and growth of the big trees also breaks the rocks. Let us see one by one how it breaks. First of all, physical factor sun. So when the sun heats up the rocks during the day. So on heating of any substance, it expands. And at night, this rock cool down and contract. Then due to irregular expansion and contraction of the rocks develop cracks. It develops minor cracks and then the crack becomes major and it breaks down. Then the second factor is water. It enters the cracks of the rocks, and later at night when the temperature is low, it freezes. And ice takes more space than water, so it pushes the rocks on both the sides, so the cracks widen and it breaks. And secondly, how the water can break the rock. Second thing is, when the fast flowing water from the mountains comes down, it rubs against the rocks, it softens it and it breaks it. The rocks become soft because of the continuous flow of water, and because of the force flow, that is, water flows at a greater speed, then it rubs against the rocks and it breaks it. It carries the rock pieces along with it and deposits further down on its path on the plain land. This is how water helps in the formation of soil by breaking the rocks. The third is wind. Wind is the third physical factor. So strong winds erode rocks. When the strong wind breaks, then the broken particles of the rocks are carried to another place and spreads the particles evenly to form a plain surface. Now chemical factors like water, oxygen and nitrogen gases gets added to soil to make it fertile. Some biological factors also helps in breaking of the rocks, like lichens. They always grow on the surface of the rocks. While growing, they release certain substances which are acidic in nature and cause the rock surface to powder down. When the acid falls on the rock surface, then it breaks and the rocks turns into small granules and powdered form. Sometimes the roots of the big trees enters the cracks and it widens and thus the rocks break. Now see the second question. What is soil erosion? Soil erosion means the upper layer of the soil gets carried away by the wind and the water, and there is washing away of the upper fertile layer, that is called soil erosion. So wearing means carrying away of upper layer of soil is called soil erosion, and removal and transportation of the top layer of soil is called soil erosion. Let us see some causes of the soil erosion. Overgrazing is one of the causes. That is, if suppose the grasses which grows on the soil, we know that their roots holds the soil particles, but if all these grasses are eaten by the cattle because of the grazing, and if lot of grazing is done, then the grass cover which always holds the soil by its roots, so soil becomes barren and it is washed away by the water. There is no grass cover which holds the soil, and so when the water falls on it, it gets washed away. Then certain natural factors like wind, glacier and water erodes the soil. Certain human activities like construction, that is when construction of the houses or certain shopping malls goes on, then digging of the soil is there, soil becomes loose and it may be washed away by the water and wind. And then over irrigation means if lot of water is poured in the soil becomes softer and it may also be washed away by the great force of rain. So construction and over irrigation are the human activities which causes soil erosion, and because of the soil erosion, the fertility of the soil reduces, because the upper layer of the soil contains minerals which are required by the growth of the plant, and these minerals are washed away by the water, or they are carried away by the wind. Then what are the methods of preventing and reducing soil erosion? Now there are several methods of preventing the soil erosion. The first method we see afforestation. Afforestation means planting more trees. If more and more trees we plant, then the roots of the trees hold the soil. It do not allow the soil to be washed away. So the soil becomes tight in between the roots and it reduces the soil erosion. Contour farming. Contour farming means when the agricultural farm is there, we plow the land, and the land, we know that different lines, different furrows are made. Furrows means different rows are made. ROW is rows. This furrows are bounded on both the sides by certain like this the soil made, certain upper walls are made. So these walls on both the sides are there, and this traps the water and prevents washing away of the topsoil along with it. Because of the formation of the small walls of the mud on both the sides of the agricultural lanes, the water gets trapped. That is called contour plowing. Then step farming. Step farming is done in the mountainous region where the water flows with great force when it comes down the mountains, and if farming is done there, then farmers do it in hilly areas. They form series of steps making horizontal strips supported by walls to catch the descending water. That is, on the mountain slopes certain steps are formed, like we descend the staircases. So like these staircases are made, and at the end of the stairs, when one stair is over, then they form certain wall on the staircases. One stair is over, then wall, and then second stair is over, then second wall. So certain walls are made, and when the water comes down with rapid speed, it gets trapped there, and so it cannot wash away the soil along with it. That is called step farming. By removing excess rainwater through small drainage canal formed around the field, when in the field water moves with a great speed, then if certain drainage is given to the water, then water will go away from that drainage and it will not try to break the soil and grow. Then by controlling overgrazing. So this is how we can stop soil erosion. This is all for today. So we'll meet in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye students.